Welcome, everybody, to Deep Dive, presented by ThreatGEN. Deep Dive is a 30-minute weekly cybersecurity live stream show. I'm Gerald Auger, joined by Clint Bodungen, and we are bringing senior industry expertise to provide a deeper analysis and understanding of one specific cybersecurity current event. We encourage you to ask questions or lend your opinion as we take this deep dive together. If you're interested in this type of content, hit like and subscribe to show your support and to be made aware when new content drops weekly. Now, let's get into this week's topic. What's going on, Clint? You ready to dive in, as it were?
Yeah, as it were. This is an interesting one because it's a lot less tech, a lot more social, kind of social impact and opinionated, and everybody knows I'm opinionated.
Absolutely. So let me set it up for us to talk about what our deep dive topic was this week. So if you've been following Simply Cyber's daily cyber threat briefing, you may remember this from Wednesday. The United Kingdom's National Cybersecurity Center just had their Cyber UK summit a couple days ago, and all those videos are on YouTube. So if you're interested in what's going on over there, very, very interesting content. This is their national government's um, initiative and around cybersecurity. And what they have begun doing and offering is a mechanism where businesses and individuals, but they're mainly targeting businesses, can submit to like kind of a central national authority phishing emails and malicious websites. Those are mainly the two things. You could also send smishing text. So to think of like any organization, the Information Security Office typically advises end users in the business, hey, if you get a phish, report it into us, let us know, don't click on links, etc., etc. Situational awareness, and when that telemetry comes in, the organization is typically able to go in and either look for that email being sent to other recipients or straight up block that sender from sending into the environment, or going in and setting firewall rules or DNS sinkholing to prevent the links in the email from being able to resolve so the end users don't go there. This has been transitioned to a national service, which when I first read this blew my mind because the amount of manpower that is required to do this is a little staggering, and there is opportunity for fraud and abuse, if you can believe it. So before I go any further into this story, we can start unpacking the details. Clint, what was your initial reaction and thought as this story began to unfold?
Probably different than yours from what we've talked about. My first initial thought was that's pretty cool, to
Mhm.
actually finally, we have, or at least the UK, I could be British anyway, but we finally have something where you can report all this stuff and they're finally going to do something about it because I guess we'll talk later about can spam doesn't do anything
Mhm.
about it. So finally somebody's doing something about it. So that was my initial thought. It's really cool, but as I read into it, um my opinion started to change due to the social impacts that we'll get into.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, let's take a look at how this is operationalized. Now, chat, let me know if the way that I'm sharing the window right here, if it works for you. What you can do here is this is actually the National Cybersecurity Center's website. And when you want to report the phishing email, where is it? It's one of these tabs. Give me a second. This is the takedown service.
Oh, that wasn't
Yes.
good.
So, whoops, this isn't good. Hold on. Let me do
Yeah,
this.
I was trying to
That's
enlarge
fine.
it and put you and me. Yeah.
That's fine. So this is their website where they give you the guidance on how you can report scam emails, text messages, and phone calls. Right now, they do have an elderly person, which is a more targeted, vulnerable population here in the United States. So it's not surprised that it's also that way in the UK. You can see for reporting just an email per se, it's straight up forwarding it to phishing.gov.uk. So I really want to tip my hat to them, tip my backwards hat to them on making this incredibly easy. One of the big challenges in the cybersecurity industry is making it very intuitive and very easy for non-tech people to do their part in protecting the business, protecting the family, protecting the organization, whatever it is. So they've made it very, very easy. When I dug into this a little bit more, They say if you want to include a screenshot, that's good. We'll talk about the O365 hooking in a second, but I don't see where it is exactly here, and I'll find it. But what they do is, from what I can tell, a human analyst will actually review the submission. And if you really think about it, guys, like if you've ever worked phishing, like tier one SOC analyst type stuff, triage type stuff, you get these emails in. It takes you 30 seconds to look at the domain. Either it's obviously a typo squatting domain name, or it might look legit, and then you just put it into like urlscan.io or some other service like that, and within like 2 to 3 minutes you can dispose whether or not something is a true positive or false positive. So I do like that. They will go as far, if it is a true positive, a fake domain, a malicious domain, they will work the UK and NSCS or NCSC, because it is a government organization. They will work with internet service providers to literally take down websites, which I find impressive. And again, this is where there's potential for fraud and abuse, because if someone wants to report a malicious website that's truly not malicious, and you're having human analysts look at it, mistakes can be made, and things could be brought down. And you can see just, I mean, the sheer volume here in the month of April, just the month of April last year. I mean, excuse me, last month, they had 147,000 scam URLs removed. So again, I'm a little confused, Clint, on the amount of manpower. If they get 147,000 submissions in 1 month, to be able to do this in any way that isn't automated, and then therefore has potential for abuse, if you will.
Yeah, you have to look at the volume impact here because excuse me, 147,000 does take a lot of manpower. So either you have a huge SOC with a lot of analysts, which I'm okay with that. However, I mean that creates jobs. It creates tech jobs. I love it. However, if they don't have the manpower, they are either rushing through it,
Hmm.
which means there's the potential for I had the same concern, right? So there's the potential for just saying, "Yep, it's bad," and work to get it removed, and then there's the abuse potential, or it's just getting pushed through and it's not doing its job. It's not doing what it's intended to do, and you're wasting money and manpower. Or, as you alluded to, if you start getting machine learning involved, that's the problem that I have. If you start getting machine learning involved, then
Hmm.
you start getting into ways to abuse it, because with machine learning come algorithms. With algorithms come ways to defeat algorithms or abuse and take advantage of algorithms, as we know, thanks YouTube. And so, so there, that we just got banned. But so in the end, if it is machine learning, which they're going to have to at some point,
Hmm.
someone's going to learn how to abuse that. Someone's going to learn how to, whether it's, I mean, the real impacts I'm thinking of are the huge social impacts like election time,
Hmm.
the political impacts, but even businesses where competitors want to take down their competitors want to take down competitors by claiming emails or domains or whatnot are um, malicious, and then they end up finding a way to work the algorithm to where the machine learning automatically works to take it down. Now, that being said, there's no automatic takedown. There's no automatic. Nothing's happening towards automatic in terms of adding these to the blacklists or taking down the sites through the service provider. But you know, depending on the mechanisms that are in place for the service provider, if evidence is automatically created due to the machine learning algorithm, or if there's a system put in place to where they just get the order and they're assuming the order has been verified, then they take them down. That's where abuse could potentially happen. Now, this is probably a huge stretch. We're probably thinking the worst, and it's far fetched to think about this, but it's just anytime you have reporting services like this, you got to think about that. And I get concerned about YouTube reporting, right? Just, hey, report this as pornography, report this. People can abuse reporting services. Right now, we're in this big cancel culture. At least in America, we are. So yeah, it's concerning. But in my opinion, the benefit of the service probably outweighs the far-fetched risk.
Yeah. Now, the 147,000 definitely seems like a lot. One of the things that I noticed when I was looking at how their takedown service works, which you can see in the large image here, it looks like they're proactively out looking for malicious sites that are impersonating specifically UK government um, websites, right, or domains. So obviously, the UK government is completely in control of saying whether or not a site is part of the UK government, right? You would think that they'd have some type of centralized mechanism to be able to determine true or false whether or not they own that website. So I could see a world in which they are accounting for the sites that they find as part of their monthly population number. So it's a mixture between effectively threat hunting and submissions from end users. Now, so that could help explain the large volume. Now, looking at how the NCSC takedown service actually works, there's a couple things I want to point you to. Okay, see how it says sites pretending to be the UK government. All of the indications are you can submit to this no matter what. It doesn't have to be a UK government website. It could be like Clint impersonating my company's website. So that does work.
I've
But
done
as
that.
far so as far as the actual takedown service goes, you see, if it is a true positive and they discover that, what they will do is they'll issue a takedown notice to various hosting providers to get the live attacks blocks. And then this is important. They will add the site to various safe browsing lists. So basically, modern browsers can't access it. And what this means is this is like Chrome safe browsing list and Firefox, right? So a lot of the major browsers, except for Brave, and this is what I've heard. I haven't gone and looked at this, but I've heard this multiple places. Google controls like the master safe list or the master block list of websites, right? So obviously, Google Chrome will prevent you from going to a website. It's a nice service. It helps keep you, like on the in the good side of town, if you will. And then browsers like Firefox will subscribe to Google's safe browsing list and basically adopt it. So Firefox doesn't, or Mozilla doesn't have to keep their own list. They'll just subscribe to that one. So what the NCSC is saying here is we'll push our sites, these malicious sites that we found, to the Google block list, to these safe browsing lists. They're trying to keep it vendor agnostic, but I'm guaranteeing it's the Google one's definitely one of them. And then you'll be able to proactively basically not send end users there, because when you issue a takedown notice, it's not like always immediately it gets taken down. So there could be this delta of time where people are still receiving the email and being sent to those locations. I do want to point out that this is all really good, but if the threat actor is hosting their malware on a file sharing service like Google Drive or Dropbox or something like that, Outlook, excuse me, OneDrive, a takedown notice isn't going to do anything because you can't tell Google to take Google Drive off the internet because of a malicious file. So we're seeing an uptick in threat actors actually abuse those file sharing services to basically circumvent being taken down. The takedowns are more for like typo squatting or, like threatben.com, like a fake ThreatGEN website or whatever. So those are more of where the
Impossible.
takedown is. Yes. So you could see they talk about the benefits, right? URLs associated with the UK government themed phishing attacks would be taken down. I don't know what HMG stands for. Maybe Her Majesty's General Brand or Her Majesty's Government. I'm guessing, but we'll see. So James asks, how would that affect the browser cache? It's a good question, James. If you have well, here's the thing. If you've already gone to that website, yeah, it would be cached for like the IP address might be cached on your local DNS cache. So it wouldn't do a DNS lookup and you wouldn't actually be blocked from that. Although I'm not 100% sure how browser based safe lists work, right? Because the safe list is at the browser application level. So when you're trying to go to the website, it's not doing DNS resolution with a cached instance of the IP address. It's literally telling at the browser layer to load that into the browser window. So I think I actually think it might block it. I'd be curious if anyone in chat or Clint, if you have any thoughts on this, but I think you would be protected because it's an application layer control, the safe browsing list, not a
Yeah.
it's not a network layer thing.
Yeah, it's purely DNS, I mean URL based. It's not
Hmm.
going to do a DNS lookup. It's just URL based.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up though. It's an interesting question, James. Safe browsing list. See, yeah, I wasn't ready to do this just yet, but yeah, it looks like here. I mean, I'm guessing what it looks like here, since this is a GET post, a web API call. My suspicion is before you go somewhere on like Chrome browser, for example, it does an API query of the safe browsing list, which would pull the immediate um, list, or it pushes the domain name that you're trying to go to. Uh, Wait, hold on. Yeah, this is just an API call to pull that list. So I'm not sure if it would push the website you're going to as an argument to the safe browsing list and get like a 1 for okay or a 0 for bad on demand. But I believe it would be done in real time on demand. So DNS is obviously at the network layer, nothing to do with the browser. Okay, so one other thing that they are doing that I think is pretty cool, and you may be familiar with this if you work at an organization that's using O365 that has a capable information security office. So, Office 365 has a built in function called report phishing. Let me see if I can do this. I want to see if I can make this a little tighter. Can I do this? I was hoping I could cheat it, Clint. I was
Nope.
hoping I could cheat it. Okay. So Microsoft offers this little plugin for your Outlook client, both your phone and your fat client app, like your desktop or your laptop. And essentially, what it allows you to do is you get another little entry in your ribbon that says report fish. And you can see they probably have a little picture of it right here. Where's my report fish picture? Yeah, see this picture right here, report phishing? It just shows up. It's wicked easy. You click, like you have an email in and you just click it, and the email disappears, and you've effectively reported it to your thank you uh, to your organization. Now, what they're doing here is they're actually giving you detailed instructions on how to configure it to send it to the National Cybersecurity Center. Again, making it super easy for citizens to submit phishes. And of course, there's going to be all sorts of like false positives, like spam emails and like an email that someone got from someone they weren't expecting, like a new hire or something. So I've worked at organizations where we've implemented this, and I've been the one reviewing the emails and stuff like that. And it's a lot of work. Again, this is a righteous idea, but how it's implemented in an effective way without a gross amount of manpower or woman power or person power really is a confusing element. And that's one question
Human.
I would love to ask these people about: how are they solving for that?
Yeah. And I think that's the big thing, right? What's going on under the hood and under the covers? How are they
Hmm.
actually doing that? And when you get right down to it, another concern that I have is, even if you have people, and this is the pessimist in me, even if you have people have opinions, and if without strict guidelines and enforcement of guidelines, GRC, um, then people are fallible to their tendencies toward their leanings, right? And I'm not trying to get political, but I mean, we see that all over the place, and in whether it's true or accusations in people using social media and people using mechanisms like this to try to control the outcomes of swaying the the public opinion at large. And I know this, we're not exactly comparing apples to apples, but I can see where that abuse could happen here if you have a large group of people that are swayed into
Mhm.
thinking that these things are malicious. And where I'm going with this is that where do they stop the definition? And this is where I do start to get with, semantics and um, touch the political line. Where do they stop the line, or where do they draw the line and how they're defining malicious content? Um, does it stop at, yes, this is a cross-site domain request forgery abuse? Yes, this is cross-site scripting abuse. Yes, this is a malicious link. Or do they start to go into, this is giving false information about the CV, the C thing that we can't say on YouTube. The pandemic. But yeah, believe it or not, yes, you can get banned and your channel shut off if you say that word now. The the related to the
Yeah,
the thing.
let's say it.
So that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? So that's a perfect example that I accidentally stumbled upon. So you can get your YouTube channel banned for even just talking about that thing that's going on in the world right now.
Mhm.
And so where do they draw the line with this? Is it just technical malicious behavior and activity, or did they start to say, oh, somebody's talking about that thing we're not supposed to talk about and spreading misinformation? Oh, now you're shut down. That's really my main concern, is abusing it that way. Whether you believe the stuff that's going on or not, or how serious or not it is, it doesn't matter. It's that somebody can abuse the type of, and I'm not going to even call that censorship. It's just Big Brother, right? Taking Big Brother too far and taking it beyond the boundaries of just malicious websites and spam. That's my concern. There's my opinion. There's my rant. There's my soapbox, and I'm all lathered up. That's right.
We'll give you a spicy on that one, Clint. So I agree 100%. Now, we have seen similar actions like this in the United States, and we should spend a few minutes talking about that. So you can see here they have a capability to report a cybersecurity incident. And this is different than reporting a phish or an email or something like that. If you believe you've suffered a cyber attack, or you have ransomware, so it's quite obvious you've suffered a cyber attack, you can contact the FBI through the IC3, right? You can submit it. The FBI will come to your business or whatever. I have called the FBI before to inquire, what is the process look like? Like, for me, I'm organized and a planner, and any company that employs me is quite fortunate. So there you go, Clint. ThreatGEN's lucky. So I do the things where I call the FBI and say, hey, I don't have a security incident to report right now, but what I would like to do is understand what this workflow looks like. So when I do have to call you and I'm in a panic, I'm not freaking out about what are we doing here. I've worked through it. It's called practice. It's called a trial run. It's called a tabletop. I really didn't get much information from them. It was very frustrating, actually. I know the DoD maybe it's the FBI. I got routed around a couple people. No one really wanted to deal with me, which frustrated me. But so yeah, Clint doesn't want to deal with me either. So, anyways, your mileage may vary on the utility of a government entity taking something like this. I almost wonder if they would evaluate, like, are you a big fish or a small fish? Because if you're a small fish, like, we can't really help you. But let's take a minute and talk about the Can Spam Act, because this is something that the United States has in place and has had for a while. It's kind of like the do not call registry, right? Like, it's worked kind of. But Clint, you did a little bit of research on that Can Spam Act. So why don't you share exactly what that is and how it maps to what the UK is doing here?
Yeah. So the Can Spam Act of, I believe, of 2003 is when it was enacted, passed by Congress, and in long story short, it puts boundaries and guidelines without enforcement. Technically, well, not technically, but indeed, it puts guidelines around how commercial email or spam can be sent. So, for example, you're supposed to put a visible unsubscribe message or link at the bottom of the email. You have 15 days. You're supposed to respond and take action upon unsubscribe requests within 15 days. There's several different, there's about 9 different kind of requirements that you're supposed to have in order to legally send commercial email. Now, where some of the, where they really fouled up in a lot of areas is that, number one, they didn't say that you absolutely, here you go. I like spam and Reese's. Can I have them? Anyway, that's from 50 First Dates. So you, there's no requirement to absolutely get an opt-in before you can send spam. I think less than, I think this is all at the top of my head. I got this photographic
Mhm.
memory kicking today, but I think less than 1% of 1% of the, I forgot when it was, but what, like less than 1% of the spam that went out or commercial emails that went out actually less than 1% of the reported spam complied with the Canned Spam Act, and nothing was done about it. I mean, it's they're not enforcing it. It's largely unenforceable for several reasons. So it really turned out to just be lip service by Congress, just trying to pass something to have the appearance that they're doing something about it. But this is worse than the don't call list, actually, because the don't call list actually worked for a while. The Canned Spam Act never worked at all, and it
Mhm.
still doesn't work to this day. It's there, but it's not enforceable, so nobody respects it.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of posturing, and probably got someone reelected. What I will say is the the mechanisms of modern email gateways are advanced enough now, when, especially if people are using more centralized one like Google or Google Mail, or Google for Workspaces, or Office 365, so the Exchange Online, where basically these services have hundreds of millions of emails coming into them every single day, and they have so much telemetry around, this is being reported as a phish, or this has every indicator of a phish, or here's a link and it goes to a URL or an IP address that has already been identified as malicious. um, so because of that rich corpus of data that these larger email service providers have, I feel that they're actually really good at detecting and either blocking or properly labeling spam, right? So this is for spam. Before, this was, I feel like 2003 was before phishing emails really took off as part of the standard approach to the hacker toolkit. I mean, people were doing phishing back then, but it not quite to the level and maturity that they are now. So this wasn't the Can Malicious Email Act. This was Can Spam, because
Yeah.
people were bullcrap with pop-up ads and spam emails, right? So
Well,
um,
one thing that I think is important to note is that, so the spam there doesn't actually, the spam is an acronym, and the P in spam stands for pornography. And dang it, I probably shouldn't have said that. We're gonna get this video banned.
no, it'll be
Um,
fine. It'll be
okay.
fine.
So anyway,
And we've got just a minute left here too, Clint.
yeah, I was literally just gonna say that where the Can Spam Act uh does really it does a good job is that it did cut down on the pornographic material and email being sent. So really cut down on that. So while it didn't actually help with spam, it did help with pornography proliferation via
Absolutely.
email. So it did its
All right,
job there.
guys. So thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate you taking time. This half hour goes really quick. This has been Deep Dive with myself, Gerald Auger, and Clint Bodungen. We were talking about the UK government's security experts basically offering a national capability for reporting phishes and how they were going to do takedowns through that. We hope you got value out of this. And if you did, take a second. The best way you could say thanks for this valued information is subscribing to show your support for the show. Join us next week at 3:30 p.m. for the next episode of Deep Dive. And if you want to keep the party going, which I encourage you do, jump over to Simply Cyber on YouTube, where I'll be hosting What's on Your Radar, another cybersecurity themed live stream. All the best, folks. Take care, and we'll see you next time.